MDC.
Okay.
So, first of all, tell me your name.
My name is Stephen List. I'm known as Doc.
Doc List.
Yes.
And tell me a little bit about what you do.
Well, I do, in this context, I do facilitation. I help organize and put on events, and with the idea that they'll be successful. And then in my work, I work on organizational transformation. I do a lot of kind of training and development and coaching and stuff.
And what are you doing at PDC?
I was invited specifically to facilitate the open space.
So how are things going so far at PDC for you?
Well, so far, we haven't done a whole lot. We kicked off the open space, which is, I mean, it's really kind of a hybrid open space. So it's a challenge because we have people coming and going. It's interesting. I mean, for me, it's a learning experience.
And you weren't at the keynote, so we can't talk about that. Okay. So coming to PDC, Doc, before you got here, what were the things that you were there things that you were excited about in terms of coming to PDC and hearing about?
Actually, for me, it's really all about the open space. So I'm here, the open space and the MSDN panels, which should be interesting as well, and I'm helping facilitate those. But I'm really focused. I was invited specifically to be involved in the open space, and so I didn't even really look at much of anything else because I give it my full attention, other than when I'm being interviewed.
And what are some of the topics that, I know it's just started, but did you get a look at some of the topics that are going to be interesting that people
and
are putting
it's
up?
an interesting mix. So there's some guys from HP that want to talk about their new touch thing. Somebody wants to talk about TDD. Somebody wants to talk about alt.net. So it's really, I mean, already we're seeing a very wide spread of topics. There was a guy who had a couple of ideas, and he wanted to run them by me to make sure they'd be interesting enough. And I said, you know, if they're interesting to the people they're interesting to, that's what it should be, right? I don't want to go talk about them, but I don't have to.
Now we're going to be doing an MSDN Developers Conference event in Chicago.
Okay.
And I know that not everybody from Chicago that would have been interested in coming to PDC would be interested in, got here.
Right.
So what do you think, can you give me some idea of what you think will happen in Chicago with doing the best of PDC in the Chicago area?
That's intriguing. You mean the overall event in terms of bringing the content there as well as having some kind of discussions? I think it'll be really well received. There's a trend over the last 5 years towards much more regional events because corporate budgets are down for traveling and for conferences, because people like to stay home. You know, those of us who have families have gotten tired of being gone for days and days at a time, and those of us who are very active. So bringing it to the locale has the potential to draw a significant audience who would have loved to have been here. The fact that you're talking about doing it in a more contained time frame means that if you're doing it are they weekdays or weekends?
They will be weekdays.
Which means they're only away from work a day, which an employer is much more likely to accept than travel and hotel expenses plus, I mean, the cost of the event itself no doubt will be less. If you add in some kind of open discussion thing, which we've talked about, then there's the potential for the people who attend to walk away with a sense of ownership. And that's the huge thing about having community discussions. Not only do I get to sit in the sessions, but I can go talk about them with people who share interests. That makes it huge, because now I can do it in my hometown or close, less money, I can get the day off, and when I walk away, I feel like I've contributed to the community. That makes a huge difference.
And that was a soundbite.